What is going on, YouTube? Back again. We gotta do the power steering rack in the Mark II, and I realized that I need an engine support bar to support the engine from above while I remove the subframe from underneath, and we gotta get that support bar. 85 bucks at Harbor Freight, but I found one on Facebook Marketplace. The person agreed to sell it to us for $20. We're gonna go and get it. What's going on? We are back at headquarters with the car. We have acquired the engine support bar. 20 bucks on Facebook Marketplace. They were asking 30. If you're ever trying to negotiate a deal, could be a car, could be a car part, it could be anything you want. Just tell them, you know, make a reasonable offer, an offer that you are able to follow through with, and quickly. Tell them specifically, hey, would you be able to take, this is what I said to them. They wanted 30. I said, would you be able to take $20? I can come and pick it up quickly. I'll make it happen today. And that usually entices people to want to work with you. If you enjoy this video, hit that like button, consider subscribing. The goal is for us to swap this 1.8T into this Mark II, and I need your help to get there. Today we're removing the control arms on the Mark II, and as you can see here, the control arm bolt is kind of blocked by your transmission. So what I've done is I've supported the engine with a jack, and a plank of wood helps, and we're going to disconnect the engine mount from above and the engine bay. There's one singular nut. We're going to undo that nut, then you jack up the engine, and it'll give you enough space to get your tool in there. It looks tight, but I was able to fit a breaker bar with an adapter, so you'll have plenty of space. Right down there is the bolt for the engine mount. I moved the coolant expansion tank, that way I could get direct access to the bolt. I have the engine supported by the support bar. I kind of thought that I was going to have to undo the other side, but the other control arm should be easier to remove. So now I'm gonna have a battle with this control arm. What is going on, YouTube? It is a new day. We waited for some parts to arrive in the mail. I've got the control arms off the car. We're getting very close to taking the subframe off. The car's jacked up. We're gonna support the engine with a jack. We got the jack underneath. So we've supported the engine with a jack, and we're going to use this bar to hold the engine up while we lower the subframe with our jack. Alright, so we got our engine support bar on. I found a nice secure spot here on the transmission that we can hook to. There's a nice spot here on the engine near the alternator. I've removed the intake, that way we can access the 3 bolts back here that are for the engine mount. 2 of them are easy to access, one of them is quite difficult. This car is so old and rusty that it's tough to see in here, but there's a hole inside this metal box. This metal box is used to provide hot air to the intake on cold start. There's some kind of control mechanism that lets it know when it's cold, opens up a flap that feeds air to the intake when it's cold to help cold starts. But it actually has a hole in it, and the hole is through the bottom as well. So it was basically an access window for me to be able to reach the 3rd hidden bolt, which is kind of a pain in the butt to access without removing that metal box, and I wouldn't want to mess with it. I don't know how to go about doing that right here. So we're trying to keep it as simple as possible. And I don't have any issues with that access window, so I'm not saying you should do that, but hey, it worked. Those bolts, those 3 bolts for the engine mount right here, these are 13 millimeter. They came out pretty easily. I don't know if that's gonna happen for you. This bolt here is for the transmission bracket that goes to the subframe, and I think this is a 17 or an 18. No, that's a 17. So to always double check, but mine was a 17. I have 2 more bolts holding in the subframe, and I'm going to work on those right now. I have unbolted the engine mounts, the bolts that connect the subframe to the steering rack, and we're getting ready to lower the subframe. This bolt right here goes up into here. If I could find it, there we go. I had to use an impact for this. It was not coming out with a breaker bar. Went slow at it. Something feels loose on this side. We're gonna find out what it is when we get this subframe out. Subframe is out. It looks dirty as all hell. Looks like I'm gonna have some fun getting the rack out, but it's almost out. The rack should just have one bolt holding it to the U-joint. So I'm gonna get that out. Wish me luck, and I'll see you when I'm done. What is going on? Subframe is off, power steering rack is also off. One of the banjo bolts that went to the power steering rack, I believe that was the power steering feed line, the banjo hex was stripped. So the hex on the banjo bolt was stripped. I was able to get it off with a vice grip. This bracket is bent. This is the bracket that holds the rubber mount around the power steering rack. So I'm gonna try and bend this back into shape, and we'll go do that right now. What is going on, YouTube? Oh, it's been like 2 weeks since since I last recorded. I was waiting on parts. What did we get? Got a few things, I don't even remember. But the most important key piece that we were waiting on is the clamp that holds the power steering rack to the subframe. Power steering rack is in. New clamp is on. Has a nice gold color to it. I don't know if you can really tell. If you can see it on the video. Tough angle. The rack is looking good. These boots are not happy though. I got these bolts from VW Heritage. All I have to do is actually tighten these bolts on the other side, and we're gonna put the control arms on. So we're getting there. It really helped to have a second hand to pump the jack and have the subframe on the jack, and I was lining it up into place from underneath. So you have one person lining it up and another person pumping the jack, and you'll get it on real easy. I did it first try the first time, then the second time it took about 10-15 minutes, but it wasn't too difficult. I think that's it. Oh man. Power steering rack is in, subframe in, and this car is going to be moving for the first time underneath its own power in 8 months. Under further diagnosis, I had realized that the power steering rack itself was not bad. The bolts, the 4 bolts that I just showed you, 2 on each side, 2 of them were broken from when I was driving late at night, which I should not do in this car. And someone cut in front of me, made a left in front of me, and I turned to the right to avoid them and jumped a curb. It's good driving on my end. Car took it like a champ. Car drove home fine. But then like 3 months later, those bolts just gave out. I think the bolts were on the ground here for a while because they were just destroyed, broken in half. All right, I'm gonna get this done, and I'll see you when I'm there. Also, I wanted to talk about, there's a singular bolt with a nut that clamps the U-joint to the power steering rack, and it's up in here. It's tough to show you. When I was putting the bolt back on, I kind of was worried that I had over torqued it. So I had went to Advanced Auto, and I was able to get these M6 1.0 40 millimeter. The original bolt is like somewhere in between 35 and 40, and that's no issue at all. You have plenty of clearance, totally fine. M6 1.0, this is a, I don't know if it'll focus, but this is a 10.9 strong bolt. I went to AutoZone, and all they had were these M6 40mm 8.8. So definitely worth it to get the 10.9s. You're gonna do this job, this is a power steering rack, you're probably gonna do this job once for the car's life, or for as long as you have it. Yeah, that's it. The bolt is supposed to be torqued to 22 foot-pounds. When I was tightening it down, I kind of got worried that I over-torqued it, and I'm a bit obsessive. So maybe I worry about things I don't have to, but I put a new bolt in there, a new nut, all good. Big news, car is done. It was exhausting. It's hot, very, very hot. I hope the power steering rack is centered properly. I tried my best. It's definitely gonna need wheel alignment. I made sure nothing's leaking. I hope everything's tight. We're gonna get ready to take it for a spin around the block and let it get its sea legs back. Brakes feel spongy. I just got to get used to it again. Well, we're driving down the road. Definitely needs a wheel alignment, but I mean, it's tough to tell if it goes straight, but the steering wheel's not that far off, so I really feel like this can be centered and aligned pretty easily. Brakes feel funny. I think it's just because there's a lot of rust on the rotors. So brakes definitely feel weird, but they stop, and the car seems to be behaving well. There's no gas in this thing, which I guess is a good thing, because I'll go to the gas station with a gas can, get some gas, and put stabilizer in here as well. It says the coolant light's on. Let's check that out. Maybe it's low on coolant, I don't know. But hey, all in all, I don't think that was too bad. Big project. I don't know how safe I feel in this car, but at least I can move it. If you enjoyed this video, check out one of these.